Woo! Let us see. Let me see if I'm literally live. Let me see. Live. Am I live? Yeah. W's in the chat. Yeah. W's in the chat. Yeah, so we are live. So we are going to do an analysis on the market. Number one, we have we have a market here, favorite market. Yeah. W's in the chat. Yeah, so we are live. So we are going to we are going to start with the first market, which is Nasdaq. Nasdaq is self-explanatory. Price gave us an indication, as you can see here, according to my morning video, and I was explaining indications. Price gave us an indication, it corrected to back to this level. Then I told you guys I'll be looking for structure, and as you can clearly see in the 1 hour time frame, what we have is the first level of sellers, a low, then this second level of sellers, a low, then a high. Then price has corrected well during the session, and price is going back up. So this trade, you can execute this trade buys. You can execute this trade buys based off of another ICC within the bigger ICC. You can buy um, you can buy Nasdaq immediately price closes bullish in the next few minutes, or we want to zoom into the lower time frames to see how price is behaving. And as you can clearly see, we are having significant high around here level of sellers, and you will have executed buys already if you are looking at the lower time frame, placing a stop loss at this area. Then you zoom out to see if that low will hold out. Yeah, that low would hold the market. Then you place your take profit targets there. This is a good 1:2 risk to reward ratio. You can clearly see. You delete that. Good risk to reward ratio, perfect. Let me delete that level. Now we can this high can get recognition by the horizontal ray. Want to mark that as a level of sellers. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. So yeah, clean 1:2. That is a clean 1:2. Yeah, can execute this trade. The reason why I'm not executing this trade, it's because I'm already in a gold trade. As you can clearly see, I expected gold to correct. I expected gold to correct from this level back to this level, but it seems that gold gave us a lower high. Then I executed the trade based off of the breakout. As you can see, we are having a little bit of accumulation. We might see gold maybe correcting a little bit. Then if it does that, I'm going to increase lots targeting 4432.54. It's simply self-explanatory. Reason being, you can clearly see this structure is very clean. You can clearly see that I've not even deleted my analysis that I did in the morning. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me show you. hmm Let me show you. Let me show you guys. Trades by ah, brav now. No, brav. Trades by Alden. Let me hit my own live stream. I have to watch So if you don't know what I'm talking about, today today I released a new video talking about how the indication goes. It's a very long video, but it's very, very detailed. You can't compare this video to any other video. So I was explaining about indications. Give me a little bit of time. I need to do something. Let us see. Okay, what's wrong, bro? Let's see. Need to send this live to myself. We start with business, then um after that we start messing around. Start messing around. You, let me paste that there. Mhm. We're going to do a full breakdown on the markets. What I want to do is to already create an image upon you guys' minds before we fully dive deep into the analysis again and again and again mpaka uelewe, naona, mpaka uelewe. Let me see how. So let us first talk about gold. So gold, as you can see in the daily time frame, as you can see in the daily time frame, gold has, or this was an analysis during the morning. Gold has clearly given us, the gold gave us the first indication. I think we need to delete this now. So you can literally see that gold gave us an indication beneath this level. It corrected, and as I told you guys, it's a very, very gold is an easy market to deal with. You'll just know if you are in a correction or in a continuation. So as you can see, price, let us first start with how gold was moving. Gold last year was extremely bullish, as you can see. It made a fast low, then war erupted. So as you can clearly see, this correction is not as powerful. Let me show you. This correction, which by then you'll have considered as a continuation because it seems as if it's continuing the prevailing trend, it's not as powerful as this. If you look from at this is so powerful. This is extremely weak. So I saw this and I was like 2 weeks ago and I was telling people who watch my videos, I was like, you know what? The same pattern is happening around here. And it dawned into my mind, oh, I see what gold wants to do. Gold wants to create another correction so that it can continue with its bearish move to the downside. And clearly, that's what gold does. That did, and as you can see, it started going bearish. Now, when you see some things like that, it's hard to notice them in the daily time frame. What I mean is, it's hard to notice that price is shifting structure in the daily time frame. So your goal as a trader is to find clarity as fast as possible. Let me tell you guys a secret. If you ever get into the market and you do not have any clear view of what the market is actually doing, you really need to consider getting out of that market and avoiding to execute any trade in that market. So your goal as a trader is fucking clarity. It's clarity. It's clear. Oh my god, I didn't delete all of this. So let me just um, delete that. And you can clearly see if you zoom into the lower time frames, when I saw this high, The first trade of last week, the first trade of this bearish move was last week on Monday. I didn't quite consider that as a trade. I didn't get into it. We'll have executed sales. Then the pattern continues. Price gave us an indication. We'll have executed sales around here last week on Friday to capture all the move. Then we had this low, this level of resistance. Price didn't correct to it. We had this level of of not resistance, I'm sorry, level of buyers. Price gave us a low and this a lower high, and it is from this low high that I've executed my trade. I still have put an alert at this area because in the lower time frame, the 1 hour time frame, it is pretty clear that from this level, sorry for that, show you guys, it is pretty clear that at this level we are having buyers. Guys, let me tell you something. Price is behaving as it should. We are having buyers at this area. We are having buyers at this area. So what price might do is maybe it's forming another low. Then we are having a correction back up to this level. Then price is going to continue to the downside. Now, I executed the trade. I executed the trade around this area. I think here, stop loss, I've placed it there based off of this level of sellers. Okay, 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 okay. See, um, I'm targeting. This is the ultimate TP, to be sincere, because it is from this level of buyers that price managed to break out of this level of sellers here. So yeah, that is the ultimate TP. Actually, I should that this is great. Let us see. It's a clean 1:4, but it's a trade that you can hold. Actually, let me as we speak, let me modify my take profit target. I didn't view the market. I think I had a lot of things in the morning to an extent that my brain couldn't see it. I was targeting these lows because, as you can clearly see, from if you look left, you have multiple lows. Number one, this is an insignificant low because the reason they consider this as this powerful low, it's because you can clearly see that buyers when buyers got into the market from this level, they broke above this level of sellers. See, look at this. When buyers got in from this level, they pushed price. The first time sellers didn't have any power. Push price again, no power. I really hate. I think the problem is not really with my mouse. Pushed again, pushed again, pushed again, back above that level, again, back above that level. So we might see a little bit of drag from the market. Let us mark this. Let me mark this. Let me mark this. Dumb. Women are dumb. Yeah, yeah. So you might see some little bit of and actually something that is making me happy is the fact that price is considering to give me a correction before reaching this level 4498. So this whenever price gives you a lower high, if price is will give me a lower high before approaching this level, it means that price is going to get more liquidity. Then this low is going to be fucking broke out. We are going to see something like this. I don't think these levels are going to hold out, these two. So I just need to focus on the major level. So this is goal for you guys. So how do I go about my strategy? The first thing you need to know is you need to know um, the current trend, and you want to see the current trend in the higher time frame. Now I'm explaining to you guys my analysis. So if you look at this, you'll notice that there's buyers at that level. Price gave us an indication, fucking correcting. We have got into sales at that area, stop loss around there, take profits to this in this candlestick. I call it an insignificant. Every time there's a glitch and then this candlestick forms, just know it must be retested because it's invalid. It's an invalid candlestick. It has to be tested. So that would be the first trade. And I expected literally price to be bullish back to this level, but it seems it formed a lower high, then it continued with its trend. Now, this is the best time to enter a trade because it is clearly during New York session. And as you can clearly see, price maybe is going to give us, I like this. So let me delete that. So if you clearly look at price, this is what happened yesterday. Price formed this candlestick and this candlestick. The same pattern is happening. So we are obviously going to see a little bit of correction. Then price is going to push down. How do we know where price is going to correct to? You can use the Fibonacci retracement tool. It's a powerful tool. And sometimes price price violate the 50% rule, and then it might come into this area, then give us a drop to the downside. So you box want to box that those levels so that if price surpasses that, you get out of the trade. That is how you go around this. What is this level? 4587.16. Let me see. That's great. Yeah. So that's a goal for you guys. Let's see. How is Nasdaq faring? Let's zoom into the 30 minutes time frame. There's a lot of drag around here. I don't know what's going on. Sellers really need to buyers really need to up their game, or they be overpowered. But it's clear that buyers are in control. This is a pin bar. This is another pin bar. This is going to work out well for us. If you're in this trade, it's going to work out well for you because we have buyers at this area. We have buyers at this area. It's powerful move. Um, let's see. We have sellers here. This is Bitcoin for you guys. You have sellers here, around here. What am I even doing? I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes I get deep into my mind. I don't realize what I'm doing. I'm just heavily thinking, guys. You can't try do some things and you're not successful. That is the problem. But as you can see, it seems as if price gave us a bigger indication. This is why I'm not a fan of break and retest, though I'm in a trade of break and retest. See, you can clearly see this was an indication, but price was to retest. It didn't correct. Now, price has given us the full scale picture of what it wants to do. Then buyers have entered to the market and they're trying to buy back to where they were because they have no power over sellers. They want to buy back to where they were and then start selling together with sellers. So we might see Bitcoin maybe go down heavy. I don't know how this is going to affect the gold, but we'll just wait and see. There's a certain commodity that I want us to analyze today, and it's oil. Let's see. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Shit, man. I didn't get into this trade, bruh. Price gave us an indication. Then yesterday during New session, we had a chance to execute the buys. I need to lock in. I need to lock in. I need to lock in. I'm not literally locking in. I really need to lock in. How did I miss this, man? Now, guys, do you know what we're expecting from oil? Now, we already have the indication. So we'll just wait oil to give us an indication, correction, then we're going to strike buys. And you know what, guys? It's actually very, very weird. I want you guys to look at this. Whenever oil is bullish, Nasdaq sells. So it's actually very weird how Nasdaq is still bullish while oil is buying. So one of them will collapse. When oil is buying, it's very weird for gold to buy, which means that this is just a simple correction. When oil is buying, I don't know how oil affects Bitcoin. That one I can't lie. But it seems as if they are inversely proportional because oil is backing the dollar, which means that oil, if USD is being backed by oil, if oil is buying, it means that stocks are going down, which means that USD is going down. So if USD is going down, BTC has to go up. But this principle is shattered due to the fact that if USD, okay, yeah, if USD is going up, then gold has to go down, which means that you shouldn't get into any Bitcoin trade. Understand that? Let me show you how I've come to that conclusion. We have the United States economy backed by oil, the petrodollar, which came about during Nixon's time, who got the dollar out of the, what is this called, gold something or gold standard, which means standard, which means that literally if this is USD, it's being held by oil, not being held, it's being backed by oil, which means if oil prices go up, the US dollar goes down because the value of the dollar is not from gold, it's from oil. Do you understand that, guys? So if oil is going up, as you can clearly see, if oil is going up, then what happens to all pairs that are backed by gold. But that then what happens to all currencies or commodities that are backed by the US dollar? If the US dollar is going down, let us take the first pair. Let us take, because I trade two pairs, NAS 100. This is the stock market. NAS 100 is literally the US economy. So this is going to go down. Then let us put here the second that I trade, the second market that I trade, XAU USD. You can clearly see that USD, you can clearly see that USD is back in gold, which means that if the USD is going down, this pair has to go up, which apparently during this war, it happened vice versa. I can't explain. I think it's because gold and oil has the same value. So I don't know what happened, because as you can clearly see, if you go to the charts, let us go to the charts. I want to show you guys something. Zoom to the 4-hour time frame. This is where the war began, around here. It was February. No, it was here, because I remember my friend was in a gold trade when it hit all-time highs. So this is where the war began. And we were expecting that if the USD is going to go down, gold is going to go up. But what happened? Price went down. So it's either this is a market manipulation or it is just a weird price movement, to be sincere. So gold has been operating kind of opposite to what it should do. But according to this mathematic, according to the math that I'm doing, gold should be going up just like oil. So I'm thinking maybe it's because um uh-huh maybe it's because gold is a commodity just like oil, and money is being moved out of gold for people to invest in oil. That might be a possibility. So it seems as if the gold market is either under two things: market manipulation or significant players are choosing pulling out liquidity from the market gold to oil. Don't tell, don't, yeah. So maybe that is a potential move. But if the USD is going down, I'm trading what? I'm trading Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Bitcoin is backed against USD. So USD is going down. Bitcoin has to go up. This is pure market manipulation, guys. I think this is manipulation, because as you can clearly see, oil, there's something, a big move is going to happen. Maybe, I don't know. We are heading to the weekend. I think war is going to erupt again, so that these markets can reset, because oil is pushing up. Bitcoin should be pushing down. No, no, no. Oil is pushing up. USD is pushing. Oh, if USD is pushing down, Bitcoin should push down. I'm sorry, guys. Because if USD is pushing down, fuck. This is not financial advice, by the way. Seriously, this is not financial advice. How am I getting confused? If USD is going down, Bitcoin is going up. So I'm correct. The only thing that needs to go down is this, the US stock market. If USD is going down, gold needs to go up. The price of everything needs to go up apart from the stock market. This is pure market manipulation. So as you can clearly see, what is happening in Bitcoin going down, what is happening in Nasdaq. Nasdaq, I think it's going to hit a major market um, correction, but I'm very lucky because I didn't. That was a clean trade, but I've not executed the trade, so I'm lucky at the same time because there's something that I noticed in Nasdaq. Never. Let me show you guys. Let me delete everything. Never in the history of price has price ever broken out of its all-time highs. Okay, this is the all-time high is 26,200 to give us a retest. See, I'm thinking if oil is plumb is pushing up, Nasdaq is going to sell hard to the all-time highs. I think there's going to be another war. Bitcoin is going to push higher to 84,000, just like I've kept on saying. Nasdaq collapse. Gold, on the other hand, is going to sell harder because I've noticed that every time oil is going up, gold is selling. So gold is going to sell harder. So what is happening right now, I think it's pure market manipulation. This is pure market manipulation. Price should be pushing up. So it's the worst time to get into these two markets, Bitcoin and Nasdaq. On the other hand, gold also might be risky. I'm not claiming that gold is safer. It might be risky. And I'm wondering, is there any news? I knew it. There had to be some manipulation. They had Fed press conference 21:30. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Everything is going against the other one. So price has to be reset. It's either war or that press conference. So that's going to be a very significant piece of news, which is going to set the pace on how the market is going to behave next week. Just hope that I'm not going to be stopped out. Yeah. So I think we're done with the forex matters. Now let us do some stupid shit. hmm I was watching this documentary of Napoleon. Let us see.
His threats in Europe. So now he could focus on more important things, like micromanaging every detail of his palace. For example, he personally kept track of every sock, napkin, and bedsheet in a notebook. He checked how much sugar his court was consuming and then researched the market price to make sure he wasn't overpaying. He had a bizarre working schedule, if you could call it a schedule. He would work all hours of the day and night if needed, and slept in short bursts of 3 hours. He loved taking baths and was known to say that an hour in the bath was as good as a few hours of sleep. He had a bizarre working schedule, if you could call it a schedule. He would work all hours of the day and night if needed, and slept in short bursts of 3 hours. He loved taking baths and was known to say that an hour in the bath was as good as a few hours of sleep. He would usually skip breakfast and wouldn't spend more than 15 minutes on most meals, as he considered the formalities of dinner to be a waste of time. He could absorb insane amounts of information and come up with a solution almost instantly. He had a gift for compartmentalizing his mind to solve the task at hand, then quickly moving on to the next problem without dwelling on the last one. He didn't really drink that much and is never recorded being drunk. He was kind and generous to his palace staff and would joke around with them. And sometimes he would dress in civilian clothes and go out undercover in public with just one or two personal aides. These quirky details of his everyday life show a less seen side of Napoleon, his good humor and personality. But it's also important to recognize how brutal.
So I'm wondering if this man is saying the truth. He said that he's charismatic. This man was saying that Napoleon was charismatic, but he was bad with women.
He could be. Over the next few years, Napoleon would reach the peak of his.
See this signature move. This. This is known as the Freemason move. This, if you ever see this in a leader, no, it's a Freemason. Look at this. Look at this cross. Look at this ego is like a Roman emperor.
His power. After Austerlitz, he smashed the rest of his enemies into submission at the battles of Jena and Wagram. He installed his family members in the various European states that he now controlled. His brother Joseph was the King of Naples, Louis the King of Holland. His sister married Marat, who became the Grand Duke of Berg. His family and friends were now part of a new imperial nobility in a way, a dynasty that was beginning with him. At 40 years old, Napoleon was essentially in control of a continent. Not to mention, he had the most powerful army in the world at his disposal. If we stop the story right here, you would probably be wondering how someone in such a perfect position could ever lose it all. Well, things might not have been as perfect as they seemed. Find out how it all unravels in the final chapter. When the British Prime Minister William Pitt heard the news of Napoleon's crushing victory at Austerlitz, he famously looked at the map of Europe and said, "Roll up that map. You're not going to need it for another 10 years. And he was kind of right. Napoleon was now in a position of supreme control over all of Europe. So how does he go from that to, well, this? What went wrong? Well, buckle up, because every episode in Napoleon's life so far has been leading up to this saga of a downfall. This is the part in the story where the hero lives long enough to see himself become the villain.
How the fuck is Napoleon Bonaparte going to be a fucking villain? How is it possible? The fuck is up? Napoleon.
And while in some ways Napoleon never really changed over the course of his life, there were now some key transformations that were happening in his character, his entourage, his country, and the world around him that were making the cracks in his new empire.
Let me tell you something. The truth about Napoleon is that say he joined hands with the Freemasons because he was afraid that they were going to overpower him. So he didn't want internal wars. But at the same time, he kept his Christian what do we call it? His Christian identity. He still considered himself as a Christian. And this happened when he was sent into after he lost the war of Waterloo. This man was sent into what is this place called? I'm forgetting this place. He was sent to an island. I'm forgetting the name of the island. And there he was so depressed that he had to come back to Christ. And the famous quotations of Napoleon are, "Look at me, a man of war. I don't know, something like that. I've won, but Christ has won through winning hearts." He was comparing himself to Christ's empire, which is the church. Just continue watching. Na kwanza niende choo sana, siwezi itikia mwendelee kuona kasi iko, so cha tutafute kitu ya kuwatch, cha tutafute kitu ya kuwatch. Sasa ni nini huku? What has fucking happened? Ah, no, 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 no. Let me see. Let me check something. Nah. Instagram.com. Kijana unique. Bad every day, sina body. I posted this. So what happened is I unfollowed almost everybody that I was following because I was like, people are posting shit in their stories. And if there's something I hate is to watch a lot of nonsense. I'm very detailed in everything that I do, especially the things that I consume inside my mind. I consume things that are making me have a higher a, ha- a bet a higher advantage to everybody who is around me. So when I was checking people's stories, when in the middle of last year, I was like, these people are posting shit. They're not posting anything that is making me a better person. So what I did, I unfollowed everybody, and I left the following people. I want to tell you, do the same thing. Number one, obviously you need to follow me because I'm greatness in and of itself. I still want, I followed my mom, following my sister, following Trades by Sai. I'm thinking of unfollowing my mom eventually because I don't want people to get her handle. Julian Petroulas, and I followed this guy because he has very good insights in the stock markets. Bugatti, I love the brand. Gemsology, I like his brand also. It's pure old money. Then Father Dan Rihil. Father Dan Rihil is an exorcist. And I'm somebody who likes mixing. I like, I just like knowledge. So I'm watching heavy documentaries on the devil. I'm watching heavy documentaries on God. I'm watching heavy documentaries on conquerors. I'm watching heavy documentaries on drugs. I just hate nonsense. No, it's not that I don't do some nonsense once in a while, but I hate nonsense. So this is Connect, a very powerful brand. And then you have so that very few people know. I've not showed you guys one of the greatest men. This guy, yeah. So you need to follow this guy. You can clearly see even him is like, fuck these people. People are posting shit, and you can clearly see he's following very detailed people, very detailed people. So this is how you want to move if you want to win. What I want to do is I want to show you something that I admire this guy. See, only one video changed the life of this man. He might be a quirky brand. His brand is a bit quirky. It's not as professional, but he's authentic. You see, one video changed his life. So if this guy from the trenches, from the middle of nowhere, if this guy's life can be changed, why shouldn't I post content every day on my YouTube channel? Why shouldn't I go live every day on my YouTube channel? I have nothing to do. I've finished all my jobs, all my online jobs. I've managed to finish all of them. Look at this. This is my favorite video of this guy. On that. I wish I had the ability to choose. For 98, kwani hapa kulienda aje? Let's see. Let's see. Oh, new follower, new viewer. Bro, welcome, welcome, nigga. Sijui ka ni dem ama ni boy, but welcome. That is, let's see. I want to show you guys something. I don't know who's managing this guy, but the person who is managing this guy is doing a very good job. Very good job. This man is going to be great. He's not great as he should be, but this is a great man. Let me see. I want to show you guys something. I want to show you. I don't know why he removed. He had pinned the original video which made him viral. I want to show you guys that video. These are just fucking cloud chasers. Weird human beings. If I ever become rich and famous, somebody like that can't come near me. Hate cloud chasers, losers. Doesn't matter if he's rich or anything, but you just can't come into the life of somebody and try to profit and get your business back up. But he's too dumb to notice. I like this guy a lot. Umse anashtua giraffe, unaweza shangaa giraffe imemfanyia nini. Ngoja. He has posted loads and loads of content within a very short period of time. This guy is so good. He's a very good guy. He knows what he's doing. You see, yani mjamaa, I want to show you guys the power of God. openly. The fuck is this?
Angori, mbavu ni tatu. Ade.
That's a stupid man. Yeah, I think we are coming close to the original video. Jamaa anakuanga amejaa ngori 24/7. Siwezi kuja hivi vyote ni back down. Sikia brain yangu ati usiwachane nayo. Nah, bro. Naendelea hadi chini hadi niipate. Bas. Here we are. You see, I was so close to lose hope. We are already here, but this isn't the original one.
Mbavu nilisikia huyu
Manze jamaa anakuja hii.
No, that's not the original one. Kwani aliendanga miti na huyu mjamaa?
Usikia hata ndo JX amefika.
Wewe unasema ni jamaa West.
Huyu ni jamaa West.
Acha ingie, mimi naruka naye. Unajua
The most interesting nigga. I don't know what happened with these edits. I like the grading. The grading made him look gangster, bruv. This was the original video. Now.
Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya. Ninakuzima matembe wewe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya. Ninakuzima matembe wewe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya. Ninakuzima matembe wewe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya. Ninakuzima matembe wewe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya. Ninakuzima matembe wewe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya. Ninakuzima matembe wewe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya. Ninakuzima matembe wewe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya. Ninakuzima matembe wewe. Halo. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Weka mawe. Ni mbaya.
Yo. Acha nijitumie hii. Nitumie Magda. The fuck is happening? Okay, let me just save it. This guy posted this thing January 28th. Today's date 29. It's the 29th of the 29th of April to February to March to April. 3 months.
become more obvious. The emperor was facing a number of big problems, and those problems would lead to the disastrous downfall of Napoleon. Problem number 1. Diplomacy. Alexander, the Tsar of Russia, just had his armies and allies crushed by Napoleon and had no choice but to come to terms with him. So the two leaders met in Tilsit and actually had a lovely time together. Like a really good time. Napoleon wrote to Josephine about how cool and handsome Alexander was. But despite his little bromance with the Russian Tsar, heyo, his diplomatic strategy going forward was, to put it mildly, questionable. And to put it frankly, terrible. He exercised his new control over Europe by imposing a harsh economic policy called the Continental System, which was basically a ban on British goods and trade in French-controlled territory. The British Empire finally undermined their strength and control, since he never got around to that invasion. Now, the idea that Napoleon could just stop all British goods from entering the rest of Europe was not only ridiculous, it was impossible to enforce. The French had control over their territories through Napoleon's military victories, but that didn't mean they could police every harbor and economic hub in Europe. People were used to their British goods, and a little embargo wasn't going to make them quit, so they just smuggled things through. The smuggling was so common that even Napoleon's friends and family would do it, which of course enraged him. Problem number 2. Spain. Spain was an ally to France, and it was extremely important because of its location and colonies, especially if Napoleon wanted his little continental system to work. So in 1807, he asked them politely to allow his troops to pass through to take over Portugal, because they obviously weren't complying with the continental system. Then he was like, actually, I'm just going to take Spain too. So Napoleon instructed his brother Joseph, who was currently happily presiding as the King of Naples, to move and become the King of Spain. The move did not go well. The Spanish people did not like Joseph, and Joseph was like, this sucks. I hate this. They don't like me. They liked me in Naples. And the Spanish people didn't just not like Joseph, they were rebelling against French rule. Hard. They even came up with a new term for how they were doing it. Napoleon ignored his brother's pleas and didn't really take the issues in Spain that seriously, until it was too late. The British seized the opportunity to join up with the Portuguese and Spanish and beat the French in Spain. And Joseph had to rapidly retreat. Problem number 3. Times were a-changin'. The French people were becoming desensitized to the exaggerated bulletins that were so often bringing the news of thrilling victories and military exchange. People were tired of war, and the countless battles and deaths in the last few years had everyone very ready for peace. So they were less excited when there was news of yet another military victory. Not to mention, the battles were becoming less and less decisive for Napoleon. Other nations were catching up to his strategies. They were organized better, innovating and upgrading their equipment, and sometimes straight up copying his tactics, like quick maneuvering, massed artillery, the core system, combined arms attacks, psychological warfare, and streamlined supply lines. Napoleon's revolutionary battle strategies were so good they were now being adopted by his rivals and used against him. Back home, the effect of Napoleon's propaganda was wearing off, but the strange thing is, he didn't really seem to be aware of this at all. His court and new dynasty were becoming more and more frivolous and royalistic, adopting many of the same attitudes and customs of the previous regime, which is hard to see happening to the young Napoleon we saw rise to power through the spirit of the revolution. As he continued to bully and threaten other European powers with outrageous demands, members of Napoleon's entourage became more and more frustrated with him. His chief diplomat, Talleyrand, eventually gave up and started negotiating with Russia and Austria behind his back. Napoleon could simply not see or accept the long-term advantages of making concessions and alliances. He had achieved everything in his life by doing things his way, and by fighting and winning against everything that opposed him. I was not born on the throne, he would say. I have to maintain myself on it the same way I ascended to it. An individual who becomes a sovereign like me cannot stop. As the grip of unlimited power continued to affect Napoleon's spirit, his legacy and dynasty became more important to him than anything else, even love. He wanted a son, and he wanted that son to rule France when he was gone.
My son is my future.
He decided to divorce Josephine and marry Mary Louise, the daughter of Francis. of Austria, in a move that he hoped would permanently bind Austria to France and permanently preserve his lineage. In the end, it would do neither. Josephine was shattered by the divorce, and a little bit of Napoleon died inside as well. It had a much bigger toll on him than he would likely ever admit. She was his confidant, his good luck charm, and despite her rough background, was an elegant and graceful presence in his court. From then on, things were never quite the same in the palace with Napoleon's new young wife. She was nice, but she was never going to match the love Napoleon had for Josephine. But in 1811, Mary Louise did birth a son, and Napoleon was pretty obsessed with him. Okay, so now let's get to the part where things really started to fall apart. Problem number 4. Russia. Russia was not going along with Napoleon's continental system. Are you seeing a recurring theme here? There was just no way they were going to give up British goods and stunt their economy because of a little economic policy. Add in some growing tension from territorial and political disputes, and Napoleon felt like he was getting shown up and forced into war. And at this point in his career, at the height of his power, he wasn't going to listen to anyone telling him otherwise. And they were definitely telling him otherwise. To him, invading Russia seemed like destiny. He had solved almost every problem he had ever faced by going into battle and defeating his enemies. So in June of 1812, Napoleon marched the Grande Armée across the Niemen River and into Russia. He had amassed a huge force, composed of many different troop types and nationalities. One of the most important aspects of conducting a campaign like this is logistics. Feeding and supplying a massive army is not easy, and as Napoleon pushed further and further into the vast, sparsely populated territory of the Russian Empire, logistics became more and more impossible. Napoleon was seeking a decisive battle, but the Russians wouldn't give it to him. In fact, they were barely fighting him at all. Instead, they retreated further and further into the heart of their territory, drawing in the massive, slow-moving Grande Armée. Controlling such a huge, spread-out force was also impossible, so there was a lot of desertion, looting, raping, and pillaging. They were roughly halfway to Moscow by the time the Russians finally engaged in a large-scale battle, at Smolensk. Smolensk fell at a heavy cost to both sides, but it was a hollow victory for Napoleon. The Russian army got away, and Napoleon got the burnt ruins of Smolensk. But 3 weeks later, the Russian army, led by Kutuzov, did confront Napoleon at Borodino. It was a massive battle, and included the single bloodiest day in the entire Napoleonic Wars. Despite their heavy losses, the Russians were able to retreat once again with their army still intact, and Kutuzov decided to make for Moscow. So Napoleon pressed further, now convinced that Moscow would be where the Russians would have to make their final stand. If he took their city, Alexander would finally come crawling. That's just how it was done. But when the Grande Armée finally reached their ever-moving goal and marched into the city, what they found was shocking. 2/3 of the city's inhabitants were gone. Kutuzov's army had passed right through and out the other side. The local governance had ordered the city burned and the fire pumps destroyed before they too abandoned the city. "It is not possible," muttered Napoleon. He sent a desperate letter to Alexander. "I have made war on your majesty without animosity." But as he waited in Moscow for a reply, the situation became more and more clear. There would be no Russian surrender, and there would be no victory for Napoleon. Only smoke and ash. And soon, winter. In 1861, a French civil engineer created an incredible infographic that shows the size of the Grande Armée as it campaigned through Russia, and now as it retreated back home with nothing to show for it. Napoleon had waited in Moscow too long, paralyzed by indecision and afraid of looking weak if he turned tail and left too quickly. The temperatures now plummeted, and many thousands of soldiers, horses, and homeless, starving civilians were lost in the march back, as we see the size of the army shrink to a tiny line of ragged souls. The retreating Russians had adopted a scorched earth policy, burning crops, villages, and supplies, so there wasn't much left. Discipline and structure disintegrated, and the guns and carriages were discarded along the road as horses died off and were eaten. The disorderly, frostbitten, and starving army was now extremely vulnerable to the Russians, who had now turned around to pursue them. One of the most incredible stories of the famously devastating retreat from Russia is when 400 Dutch engineers in the French army constructed bridges for Napoleon's dwindling army to cross the Berezina River. Their brave actions in the frozen water saved countless lives. By the time Napoleon had hobbled back to Paris, his army was little more than a disorganized mob of survivors. While a majority of his army was now gone, only around 25% had died from battle. The rest had been lost to disease, starvation, and frostbite. Many of his most experienced and loyal soldiers had been lost, and the cavalrymen that had taken years to train were gone as well. He put on a brave face and tried to act like everything was fine, but he couldn't ignore the fact that he no longer had much of an army. Napoleon's campaign in Russia is one of the most catastrophic military events in all of modern history, and yet he still wasn't done making headlines. It was about to get even worse. Alexander now pressed towards France with 100,000 Russian and Prussian troops. And now in Spain, Wellington had taken Madrid for the British, threatening France's southern border. Now under a more existential threat, the French mobilized quickly to replace the Grande Armée. There were hundreds of thousands of fresh soldiers to answer Napoleon's call, but they were inexperienced and ill-equipped, and even more importantly, there weren't enough horses, which would end up costing Napoleon dearly. His advisors and marshals pressed him to negotiate for peace, but Napoleon refused to negotiate from a position of weakness. He insisted that if he could just win a few more battles, he could get more favorable peace terms with his adversaries. He finally admitted that invading Russia was a mistake, but blamed the weather more than anything. With his new army of fresh conscripts, he was able to win a few battles against the Allied armies. But without much of a cavalry, he was unable to capitalize on these victories by chasing down his retreating foes. He called for a short ceasefire, and the Allies agreed. They offered him peace terms that included giving up some of France's conquered territory, and it was actually pretty reasonable. More importantly, the Austrians were now seizing the opportunity to get involved, and if Napoleon didn't accept the Allies' terms, Austria would be joining the war against him, despite his marriage to Mary Louise, the daughter of Francis. But even now, Napoleon was hesitant to give up anything to appear weak to his people. To him, his entire reputation and authority hinged on appearing strong. The Allies had given him a deadline to accept the peace terms, and Napoleon actually changed his mind and decided to accept, but didn't want to appear too eager and therefore weak, so he waited. And waited. And waited. Until it was too late. The war resumed, and Austria joined the Allies. Historian Adam Zamoyski mentions a specific moment in one of the ensuing battles near Dresden, where Napoleon had a chance to destroy the Allied army and maybe even capture all three of the Allied leaders, but he was too sluggish and let the moment pass. This is one of the prime examples of Napoleon losing his touch on the battlefield. He was not the same general that he once was, and this would prove especially true in the next battle. The new coalition, this was coalition number 6 by the way, was now marching on Napoleon at Leipzig, where the great Battle of the Nations would be fought. Take a glance at the amount of flags being represented and you will understand why it's called the Battle of the Nations. The Battle of Leipzig is famous for its decisiveness and scale of death. The fierce fighting went on for days, with both sides taking heavy losses. Morale was especially low on the French side. It's important to remember that in addition to being inexperienced, many of Napoleon's soldiers were conscripts from other nations. In his younger years, Napoleon had a strong connection to his troops, who felt as if they were liberators and defenders of revolutionary ideas. But now, they're more like cogs in Napoleon's oppressive empire, fighting foreign enemies for a foreign cause. So when a Saxon contingent in Napoleon's army changed sides during the battle and started firing on the French, I can't imagine that helped the morale situation very much. The French were beaten down and began to retreat, but there was a slight problem. Napoleon hadn't prepared for the possibility of a retreat at all, and hadn't built any bridges over the River Elster in the time he had before the battle. There was only one bridge left, and the guy in charge of waiting until the entire army crossed before blowing it up screwed up and blew it too early, leaving 12,000 men and 80 guns stranded. This also caused one of Napoleon's marshals to die trying to cross the river while wounded. Actually, at this point, many of Napoleon's closest and most competent marshals had been killed, like Lens, Bessières, and his good friend Duroc. He had divorced Josephine. Junot had committed suicide. The list of personal confidants for Napoleon was growing shorter and shorter. Not to mention, the Battle of Leipzig was a massive loss of life for the French army. Napoleon now led a desperate campaign to keep the Allied armies at bay. But after Leipzig, it was hopeless. Once again, Napoleon missed an opportunity to accept peace terms that were now getting harsher and harsher on France. Every time Napoleon was forced to come to the negotiation table, the terms were getting worse. But even now, he could not back down for fear of losing support of the people. The Allies were not fighting France, they were fighting Napoleon. At this point, I want to reintroduce two of the most interesting side characters in Napoleon's story, Talleyrand and Fouché. These guys were like real-life Game of Thrones characters. It is fascinating how they navigated their way around power. They were constantly plotting and calculating to make sure they were on whichever side was currently winning. There was a joke where they called Talleyrand the six-headed man because he served so many different regimes. But the funniest thing about these two is they absolutely despised each other. Fouché is the vilest of men. He would betray his friends for power. Talleyrand would betray France for 100 sous, but he would do it with such grace that you would almost thank him for it. As Napoleon's empire showed signs of collapsing, they saw the writing on the wall and were quick to betray him. As the Allies pressed closer and closer to Paris, Napoleon scored some impressive yet empty victories. While he was out of town one day, Paris surrendered. When he heard the news, he sat down with his hands in his face and remained motionless for a time. When he returned to the city to try to rally support to continue the fight, there was no support there for him. In a devastating betrayal, Marmont, one of his closest friends from the very beginning of his military career, defected to Napoleon's enemies. It was over. Or was it? The decision amongst the remaining French leadership was unanimous. Napoleon must step down and accept the fate the Allies would decide for him. Ironically, Napoleon had done such a good job of constructing the government that unlike in recent French history, this regime change would not cause utter chaos and bloodshed. Alexander offered the dejected emperor the island of Elba to rule, which probably upset the Austrians and British, who felt this was too generous. Napoleon tried to get his son crowned as his successor, but everyone was like, no, absolutely not. If you're curious, Napoleon's son actually ends up never ruling France and dies at the age of 21 with no children. Ironically, Josephine's legitimate line does exist to this day. In fact, she is an ancestor to the current King of Sweden, the current King of Norway, the current King of Belgium, the Grand Duke of Luxembourg, and several members of the Danish and Spanish royal families. But back to the story. Napoleon arrived in Elba in May of 1814 and immediately got to work, running this small island just like he ran his empire, with an obsessive attention to detail. Before long, he had things operating on his level, but there was a massive problem. He was not safe here, or at least wouldn't be soon. The French, led by Talleyrand of course, had reinstalled the Bourbon King Louis XVIII, and the soldiers that had been given to Napoleon on Elba needed to be paid by said king. What would happen if King Louis decided to simply stop paying for Napoleon's guard? Elba was also dangerously exposed to pirates and assassins, who would love to cash in on any bounties put on Napoleon's head. He was also angry that the Allies wouldn't let Mary Louise or his son join him on the island. One day, he heard a rumor that the British wanted to move him soon, and it was somewhere where Napoleon really didn't want to go. St. Helena. Do you want to know why he didn't want to go there? Here, let me show you. It was pretty far away from home. Then Napoleon heard another rumor. The French people were very unhappy with King Louis XVIII. He was a symbol of the old regime and made a series of unpopular changes like cutting pensions in the army and threatened to undo Napoleonic order that many people now expected. Napoleon seized the initiative and snuck out on a ship for France. When they heard the news of Napoleon's return to France, the king and allies were caught off guard. The French army was sent to stop Napoleon's convoy from reaching Paris, but it completely backfired. In one of his most famous moments, the former emperor personally walked up to the French troops guarding the road and challenged them to fire upon him. They answered him with "Vive l'Empereur!" and joined his side. Napoleon was back, but would there be any hope for him to return to his former glory? He was a shell of the man he once was at this point. He had battled numerous health issues his entire life, and now at the age of 45, these issues were becoming more apparent. He was slower, he was fatter, he was anxious. Yet his mythology was still strong, and many more soldiers flocked to his banner. And he needed those soldiers, because before long, the Allies were coming for him. Napoleon was now leading his last campaign, and it would all unravel at Waterloo.
Yeah. So Waterloo was the last and final battle of Napoleon.
There are many fascinating plot points surrounding the very famous Battle of Waterloo, but I'll explain the basics in simple terms. The legendary British General Wellington commanded the bulk of the Allied army facing Napoleon. He positioned his line behind the natural barrier of a ridge. There was an Allied force of Prussians nearby under the command of Blücher, one of Napoleon's most persistent enemies. No one knew if or when the Prussians would join the battle, so Napoleon needed to attack as early as possible to improve his odds. But he didn't get started very early. The ground was wet from the previous night's rain, and the army was sluggish in assembling. So it wasn't until 11:30 a.m. that the first shots rang out. At 1 p.m., Napoleon spotted a mass of troops 6 miles away, and he soon learned it was the Prussians. So he began to attack Wellington's center. Wellington had a great respect for Napoleon, and he was the one who had said Napoleon's presence on the battlefield was like adding 40,000 men. Napoleon's infantry assault was repelled by the Allies, who counterattacked with cavalry. At around 4 p.m., Ney committed the bulk of the French cavalry in an all-out attack. Wellington's men formed squares to repel the cavalry charges until the horses tired, and then there was no French infantry to support the cavalry. It was all pretty poorly coordinated, and there are theories that it was because Napoleon was sick and sleep-deprived, but we also know his skills had been in decline for a while as well. So when Blücher's army started arriving, that kind of sealed the deal. Even though the battle was a near thing at times, as Wellington himself admitted. Napoleon's Imperial Guard was beaten back and forced to retreat for the first time ever. Seeing that, the rest of the French army fled. Now, it was really over. After his humiliating and anguishing defeat at Waterloo, Napoleon was depressed and suicidal. His return to power had only lasted 110 days. But we'll call it the 100 days because that sounds more poetic. He contemplated fleeing to the United States and was even offered a ship to do so, but ended up declining. He felt sneaking away was beneath him, and there was a chance he would be caught by the British. After double-checking Paris to make sure there isn't still some support for him, now he was ready to surrender to the British, hoping they would just take him to England as a prisoner. He'd finally get to see it, right? Well, no. The British were very aware of how famous Napoleon was, and even as an enemy, he would be the center of attention if they took him back to England. And they were very tired of Napoleon being in the spotlight, so they exiled him to one of the farthest and most remote islands possible. Saint Helena.
Yes, so ni Saint Helena nimekumbuka. Saint Helena ndio huyu mjamaa mtoaje? Napoleon. Napoleon alikuwa so depressed hadi akaanza kucontemplate vile naitwaje? Vile Christ's Empire ilikuwa poa. Akianza kutamani angekuwa Yesu. Naitwa Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon was not treated well on St. Helena. The house he stayed in was in really bad shape, the food was awful, and he hated the British governor in charge of guarding him. To pass the time, Napoleon did a lot of writing. He dictated memoirs,
Yeah, it is during these writings, one of these writings.
reflections, and justifications for his actions, seeking to control how history would remember him. And in a way, he succeeded, though his accounts should be taken with a grain of salt. Napoleon was one of the most interesting people in human history, in part because his life was so well known and so well documented. At times, he seems more like a force of nature than a person, starting from nothing and rising like a hurricane until he extended too far and ebbed away. He was a master statesman, creating many institutions, universities, and public work structures that stand to this day. He modernized Europe. He was a product of the time he lived in, representing humanity at its absolute best and absolute worst. He was so powerful that he threatened and defeated an entire continent and forced massive coalitions to unite repeatedly to finally bring him down. And now, after being at the height of his power just 5 years prior, he was an isolated prisoner on a desolate island. Once, for a laugh, Napoleon pretended to ride away on his horse just to scare the guards into frantically chasing him. He took up gardening and befriended the daughter of a more friendly British officer. His health began to decline more and more, and he repeatedly complained that the poor treatment he was receiving was hastening his death, which came on May 5th, 1821. I hope you enjoyed this version of Napoleon's life story, and I hope that you now feel like you understand one of history's most interesting and towering figures. Thanks for watching.
Every time nanyamaza ni sinanga kitu ya kusema. So mi nakuanga na very powerful principle. Principle yangu nakuanga, if you don't have anything to say, shut the fuck up. Understood? Watu wengi wanajiforce sana kuongea bana. Una kitu ya kusema na bado unaongea.
I'll be mad too if I pat my pockets and be like, damn, my shit's empty. I'll be mad too. I'll be mad too if I pat my
Fin dall'inizio del pontificato ho pensato a un viaggio.
I want to see. Don't remember the last time nimeingia kuona udaku. What is happening in Kenya? Fuck. Ex nominated. Who the fuck is this bitch, bruv? Guys, you know, my kitu moja nitawaambia, acha niwaambie kitu moja itawasaidia. If you ever see a woman in power, it's worse than a man, than a corrupt man in power. A woman in power is worse than a corrupt man in power. Do you know why women, I'm so much against women in power? Because I've been around these guys and you clearly see, you clearly see how they behave. So I asked myself, if this man is behaving like this and he's strategically placing women in power, it means that this woman, number one, he got into power because of sex. She's a whore. Most of these women in power are whores to rich men, and they're easy manipulated. Let me tell you something. If I was to ensure that this woman, this Gloria Ruoba, if I was to I was, do you know how old I am? I'm 19. I'm turning 20 next week. If I was given a duty to ensure that I intimidate this woman, I will do it alone. I don't need a group of men. I can do it alone very, very well. So these women are acting, and if you ever see a woman in power, just know a man is behind them. And then the women underperform, and then men are angrier and angrier, thinking that women are the problem. No, it's weak men behind these women because, bravo now. Let's see.
Na ule alishika masaa nimeona huko kadhaa ameshika hata kuweka how many months now how many months so yes akuja nishika lakini uniambie
Fuck that. Oh my god. Brav, nilikuwa nafikiria tunaenda Singapore.
Lakini ndio
This is a Tinder swindler. Nimekukamata. Kolo V29, shout out Tinder fucking swindler. You want to steal people's money by love bombing. Some people. Kenyan man spotted walking recklessly on. Bruh.
oya oya wewe
Bro. Oh my god. Bro, nani hawa anakuanga na hii tabia mbaya hivi? Hii inasumbuanga NTA. Okay, na understand view yao, lakini siwache tu vijana wajinice, bruv. Stupidity. Kitu mimi naweza sema ningekuwa kama ni NTSA, ni volume inafaa kureduciwa. Inafaa kuwa extremely medium. Na passengers wakifind that wako irritated na certain matatu wanaweza report walipwe. But graffiti, bro, let me tell you something. If I become the president of this nation, or not even the president, the cabinet secretary of roads, I will declare graffiti as a national treasure, forcing every matatu driver kuweka graffiti kwa matatu zao. Fuck. Wapendwa muziki tufanye ile siku tutawaambia tumeachana mjue ni prank, bro. Rapper Virusi Mbaya released official red card. Bruv, who the fuck is this man? I don't know this guy. Virusi Mbaya. The fuck is that?
Mtanyamaza tu na nyanya zimefika 30 bob. Nyanya moja 30. Kwani avocado ya red? Awesome tunyanyasa tu hapa. Nyanya zimepanda bei bana. Nyanya, the prices of tomatoes are unfathomable. Nyanya zimepanda bei sahi ni kata tumia tomato paste.
Bro, imagine wewe ni mwanaume umeanza kucomplain kuhusu nyanya live. Bruv. So imagine Kenya mademo na msi ameangusha gangster points ka kitu ingine. Oh my god. Oh my god. Eri tu si ungeenda tu umold. Inataka kumold. Kuna kajina kanatumikanga. Na hawa si wako kwa cult. Wanatumianga hiyo gene. Unafanyianga watoto wadogo. Si huyo angetafuta tu mamuri wake wa campus. Ama mtu yote wa campus beam yake. Amfanye afeel ni kama huyu dem afeel ni kama akicomplain kuhusu nyanya ni kitu powerful amefanya. Ndio huyu dem aende kwa online arelease video instead yake, and then watu watasikiza. Literally mwanaume akiongea kuhusu nyanya hakuna mtu ana give a fuck, lakini dem akiongea watu wata give a fuck. Juu nyanya ni kitu ya kitchen. Bro, the fuck.
I know we need to come to a close. I know we need to come to a close, and I'll get your final remarks. Njugush, you've been trending online, and we just want to hear from you, your side of the story. If you can just give us briefly what's happening with Wakavinye. We've seen very many creators coming and saying, you know what, if I find Wakavinye with someone, I'm going to beat them down. If I find Njugush with someone, I'm going to beat them down. I know it's a very sensitive topic, but just give us at least something. I mean, what's happening? So
let's work and make creative economy work, and we need to make money.
You can't
and we
ignore
need
that
money,
question,
and no, that's why we are here. We need to make, and that's why I'm saying, let's do things that are gonna work for the creative economy.
How does publicity of this kind affect your content when it comes now to your personal life?
I'm saying let's work on the creative economy and make the structures that are gonna make this thing work.
Well, we are happy at least you guys have come a long way, especially for the creative.
Let me tell you something. If you look into these accounts, these are women. Bro, the worst thing that you can ever do is to allow comments from women to affect you internally or externally, because women don't know what they want. How is this maturity? Okay, I understand the point of view. I understand the fucking point of view. But at the same time, I want to understand the journalist mind. The journalist is not asking this for clout chasing. She's asking this because she's concerned and she wants people to have at least a clear view of what's happening. She's just asking a clean question. And also Njugush has responded cleanly. But no, you just can't come here and start saying that maturity detected, intelligence, wrong platform to ask. Njugush is always wise and smart, isn't maswali. Mnasema maturity na vile nauma kugongeo dem nono. Bro, hakuna maturity hapa. This man is hurt. Hakuna maturity. He's fucking hurt. And that's the reality of things. I'm pretty sure this is a woman. And I clearly understand Njugushish. What? I understand point of view and
I know.
I understand the reason why Njugush hataki kuongea ni juu ako hurt. But wacheni kukuja hapa mna package being hurt as maturity. Kuna maturity hapo, ni kuwa hurt tutaki kuongelelea. See, wachanengi kuwa so much into delusion, so much into perception. Bruv. and cooperation. Rim getting ready for the real feeling. Kupika ugali na ombachi. Weka zambuzi weka zambuzi wasee laana isikupate. I don't understand this. Don't understand whether bro, it's like we're living in a river. Three gifts her husband, Kennedy Rapudo, cash 1 million. If you want to talk about this man, that man Rapudo is very mature. I love his demeanor. I, I came to realize this guy. I think I didn't know ambare ni venye unasikianga watu ameshinda kita mtu. Then I came to know this man juzi. But I saw him in a podcast. I didn't watch the podcast, but I saw his demeanor from a very short clip of him. It was very powerful. You can clearly see the testosterone there. You can clearly see the manhood there. Another thing that I didn't appreciate is I don't understand how my mind didn't get to understand how he manages to have such a powerful frame and yet put his wife on check. By his wife on check, I mean, according to the way you look at this man, it's clear that his wife is not cheating, but the way his wife is behaving, she is supposed to cheat eventually. So I don't know how he's managing that. So I don't appreciate the fact that my mind is in a state of confusion. So I don't have any view on this guy, but I love his demeanor a lot. Not his mindset, his demeanor. He has powerful frame, powerful fucking frame. Buda, hii si ni Thika Road ama? Bro, imagine there's somebody who says that Kenya is the capital city of Africa. Bro, if this happened in South Africa, we'll see something like this. Bro. I don't know what's happening there. Somebody is throwing bottles to the president. Watu wajifunze kuheshimu watu bana. Ndiko umeichukia mtu, mheshimu. Guys, let me tell you something. If there's somebody I hate, is this guy. I don't hate him, I disrespect him. I find this guy so, I don't know, so feminine, but we are on the same view with this. Like, you can't just ban matatu graffiti. You just can't. This mwenye alitoa hii kitu ya kuban matatu graffiti, tunafaa tumchunguze. Kama ako kwa government anafaa arushiwe mawe. Hiyo kibuyu yenye alikuwa arushia president anafaa arushiwe. This is so stupid. Yeah, graffiti is a beautiful art. I like we are in complete unity talking about graffiti, but this guy, I don't trust this man at all. So feminine. So feminine. You know, you can be courageous and feminine. If yeah, she deserves it. One day the government will eat its own. James Orengo. Oh, the fuck. He's a hype. Bruv, this is so stupid. High Court upholds. Oh, this is so great. I'm sorry. Guy. Jabba. Once in a mood to this is great. I like this. I like that. That is a very good comment. Garlin Kaur asks public to stop backlash against Shiksha. Tash explains some Indian exclusive estates in Langata and Westlands are based. Bro, let me tell you, and I know I'm going to be hated in the future because saisi na watu wengi will come back this channel and watch something that I said. I really look down upon any foreigner if you do not fit the identity of Kenyan. By the identity of Kenya is anybody who is African, who is not from Arabian Peninsula, who is not from Asian world. We can't have a Kenya where there's some people known as Somalis, and then these guys are having power over the government slowly. And so am I the only person who is noticing this trend? What the fuck? Who is this girl? It's a fucking Indian. A fucking Indian trying to tell Kenyans what to do. It's like a Somalian trying to tell a Kenyan what to do. A Kenyan what to do. Bro, you need first to notice that you are in Kenya. You are in the grounds of Kenya. So you need to fucking conform. I hate the way Somalians put themselves at a certain category. Sisi tunaishi Eastleigh. Because I have some friends who live in South Sea, and some guy told me that he was chased out of an apartment building because some Somalians were taking over that area. Bruv. And even I'm noticing the same pattern with Sudan. I think Kenya needs to have a very powerful reset so that we can chase the shit out of these people. The problem is the Kenyan economy is the best economy in East Africa, and our neighbors are under war. Somalia is fighting Ethiopia, South Sudan is fighting North Sudan, South Sudan is fighting Ethiopia, Tanzania ndio hao maskini, Ugandans. I love Ugandans by the Ugandans are the chillest people ever. Bruv, if you ever meet a Ugandan, very chill. But you can clearly see we are our neighbor.